And good morning to everybody, or good afternoon as the case may be where you are. All right, what are we focusing in today? Well, when we are producing check after check after check, hundreds and hundreds of checks, occasionally errors can be made, and somebody might be what we call overpaid. In other words, they were given more money than they had actually earned. Now, a lot of people might say, well, Vicki, I have edits and everything else. I don't overpay people. That would be a mistake. I don't do that. And that's true. You can probably go your whole life without overpaying somebody. You can catch it every time if it ever happened. But sometimes overpayments are not an error, they're just a change of circumstance. For example, I gave somebody a sign in bonus last October. They had to stay for a year and they resigned today. Did I make a mistake? No. Does he deserve that sign-in bonus? No. Has he been overpaid? Yes. So overpayments aren't always mistakes. Okay. Sometimes they're just changes in circumstance. So what we have to do when an employee is overpaid is look into the rules. Now, I know the first place everybody wants to go is IRS. They say, okay, how does the IRS want me to do this? And that is logical, to put that first, but it's actually not the first question you have to ask. The first question you have to ask is, what are the wage and hour law compliance problems that I'm going to have? In other words, am I permitted by wage and hour law, whether federal or state, to take that money back? And you say, well, I have to be able to take it back. It's my money. I overpaid them. Not necessarily. And of course, if you take it back, how can you take it back? And before we go any further, I will say this probably about 5 more times, but a lot of people will come to me at the end of the webinar and they'll say, well, I don't have to worry about this because we don't take it out of their final check. We just have the employee write us a check or give us their debit card. That's the same as taking it out of their check. There's no difference. So if you've been doing that thinking that, well, we don't have to worry about the laws, no, that wouldn't count any different than taking it out of the normal paycheck. So we have to look at it and we have to say, how much can I take back under the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act? How much can I take back under state law? Okay, if I can take it back under state law, because we're always looking at California and New York. All right, and how much can I take back? So I've got to look and see if there's any limitations. Now, once I get that, okay, then I can move on. So what I need are 2 yeses. So the wage and hour law federal, the FLSA says yes, but the state says no. Can I take it back? No, because the state said no. So it doesn't matter what the IRS wants. You're dead in the water before you even got there. All right, now let's say the FLSA says no. Well, then I don't care what the state says. So let's say the FLSA says yes, but the state is silent on the issue. It doesn't address it. Then that silence is consent. So that we could go with the FLSA. So this is what we have to look at every single time somebody is overpaid. Now, once we get past that, then we go to the IRS and or the state tax codes. And this is governed under a private letter ruling. But the problem with the taxes is they're much more complicated because they are based on a calendar year. So whenever I'm going to collect an overpayment under wage and hour law, I don't care what year it is. The time frame might matter in some states, but it wouldn't matter if it was last year or this year. Okay, it might matter that you didn't find it fast enough or you only have this much time to collect it or something like that. But it doesn't say anything if it crosses December 31st, whereas the IRS is very clear that if it's in a current year, you do it one way, and if it's in a subsequent year, you do it another way. Okay, and the taxes are all done differently. So the FICA is not handled the same as the FIT, federal income tax, and the FUTA could maybe be handled differently than the FICA. Okay, and of course I would have corrections to make, which would be if it turned out that I had done a 941, I would have to correct that. If a W-2 was involved that needed fixing, I would have to correct that. So I do a 941X and a W-2C. So when I look at overpayments, I have to make sure dash